And I was Dr. Abtin Rad. Now, he is the Global Director of Functional Safety, Software and Digitization at an organization that really needs no introduction because it is synonymous with those topics globally, the TÜV. He'll be sharing his insights into understanding artificial intelligence and medical devices with a basic introduction to the technology and the risk associated with its application.
Good afternoon or good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so my name is Abtin Rad, and currently I'm based in Munich at the headquarters of TÜV SÜD, which is a notified body for the certification of medical devices. And currently I'm working at the digitization department and taking care of AI, cybersecurity, and functional safety. In this talk, I would like to introduce you to our understanding as a notified body on the assessment of AI in medical devices. Before I go into the presentation, due to the recent very famous or unfamous incidences with the pandemic, I would like to all to think about this one question. What do you think? Who was among the first to identify the outbreak of coronavirus? Well, I guess your response had been correct. The first reporter of the outbreak was Bluedot, a Canadian AI company who observes the World Health and notified its customers on the potential of outbreak of corona already back in December 2019. So this is 7 days before the US Center for Disease Control warning on corona and 2 weeks before the World Health Organization's warning on corona's outbreak. The interesting part is, based on its access on the flight ticketing system, it predicts the spread of the virus to Bangkok, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, and US correctly even before any incidences were observed in these countries. Bluedot's reports are sent to public health officials in dozens of countries. So should we have take those warnings seriously? Well, obviously, yes, right? But why didn't we do that? And I guess the reason behind it is trust. And I will come back to this topic when we later discuss on explainability of AI and how we can build up trust into the medical device sector incorporating AI. So I don't want to waste too much time on the agenda, but just a simple note, due to the 15 to 20 minute limitation of the presentation, I would like to skip the big data slides. However, feel free to ask me about that issue or on clinical evaluation issues. That is also very important with AI. I would like to start with one example to demonstrate why regulating AI in medical devices is an issue for patient safety. Let's take a look at the medical imaging. With imaging, we are able to diagnose diseases way before we even feel it. Unfortunately, even with medical imaging, many diseases are diagnosed in an advanced state, so that it's impossible to treat these diseases anymore. Here, the artificial intelligence come into game. With AI, we can even detect symptoms that are invisible to human eyes. One example is the detection of osteoarthritis. Until now, it was rarely possible to detect osteoarthritis until pain or bone damage already occurred. And a research group around Kundo et al. Used an AI to predict osteoarthritis already 3 years before any symptoms could be detected, and that with an accuracy of 86%. Now imagine 3 years in a patient's life without pain. What does it mean for that patient? At the same time, imagine this is only an accuracy of 86%. Do you feel comfortable to rely on a decision of AI without any human or human doctor understanding why the AI decide on a specific diagnosis? It was later found out that the AI was able to recognize the diffusion of water into the cartilage. What the AI identified were symptoms that were not visible for human eye, and we didn't even know about the correlation. This shows how important it is to have an explainable model that can be understood and approved by a medical expert, and very important to create trust between the patient and the AI, and not follow any decision done by the AI blindly. Furthermore, by understanding the model, we have the possibility to identify knowledge that we didn't even have before. To understand why for regulation, we need to move back to the basic of AI and understand how AI is trained and what differentiates it from regular or conventional program software in medical devices. If you look at the regular software in a medical device, it receives commands from a user and performs operation on this data. An example could be trisomy 21 estimation software. The algorithm behind the operation is verified, validated, and the mathematical function can be verified, for instance, by a code review. With artificial intelligence on the other side, we have a completely different approach. AI learns from data and a model is used to predict future results within a certain probability. The fundamental difference to software is that the artificial intelligence formulates decisions that are based on experience it has gained from the data that it was trained on with. The other main difference is the training data in AI is acting like software and needs for this reason to be controlled. It's the same level that the software code was controlled. That's why conventional regulatory framework that was used to control the development of software are difficult or in some cases impossible to implement for artificial intelligence. So the biggest issue in my opinion with AI is that the nested and nonlinear complexity of the AI is making them highly non-transparent or even black boxes. As for instance, it is in some cases not clear why or what information in the input data makes the AI to decide on their prediction. One result of a black box AI most of us most probably know is the Go battle between the human champion and Google's AlphaGo. The 37th move during the second Go battle was completely unexpected, that even observing experts state that AlphaGo will most probably lose this game, as this move makes no sense to anyone. Nobody understands why the AI decides on this move. However, it was the deciding move to win the game. In this case, it doesn't really matter if we understand and follow the decision. We lose against the AI again, and that's all we need to know. But especially in the medical field, understanding and validating the decision is crucial for AI application in medical field. In the matter of fact, it's part of the trust between the doctor and the patient to explain the decision. So if you go to the doctor and say, well, I'm about to cut your leg, and you want to know why, and if you say, well, because I want, that's not a satisfactory explanation for you. On the other hand, or let me just skip that one. Let me show you one other example from the medical field. And this is about an AI that was trained to predict pneumonia in 2015 in high-risk patients. However, the AI makes completely wrong prediction and sent high-risk patients home who might have died without any treatment. The reason for this is that the AI doesn't know anything about pneumonia or any other disease. It is just trained by data, and it was trained by biased data, and the developers couldn't identify the problem as they didn't understand why the AI was deciding on that prediction. The question that we should think about is, should a high-risk black box AI certified as a medical device, can we guarantee that the results of the prediction are correct? Can we trust the results? And most importantly, would you in worst case detect the error? One note I would like to make is that explainable AI does not mean it is inferior to black boxes or black box AI, and there are ways to open it. I'm not the explainability expert, but there are options to open the black box behavior, and we should at least try to do that. So let's have a look at the legal requirements, for instance, the GDPR, which are in place in the European Union. The data protection law has some specific requirements which could be very interesting for AI. In short, if you're affected by an AI decision, you have to be able to follow, and that's very important, understand the decision of AI, and have to have the possibility to take actions against the decision made by the AI. But how can you follow a decision made by AI that is implemented as a black box AI? Is this software then, in this case, allowed to be brought into the market according to the requirements found in GDPR? I would say no. Furthermore, there are specific requirements found in the MDCG guidance document on clinical evaluation, which require explainability of an AI. I will skip that slides. However, please feel free to ask any question if you have any there. what the appropriate standard and regulation are requiring for medical device manufacturers. In Annex 1, Clause 70.1 of the medical device regulations, it is required that software should provide or prove its repeatability, reliability, and its performance. How can a manufacturer fulfill this requirement? For instance, by validating the model as described in ISO 3485. When training and validating an AI, we need to consider two different types of data sets. First, you need your training data set, and the second, you need the test data set to test and validate your system. The question here is, what kind of ratio should be used for the two data sets? Well, basically, we don't know that, and we performed a literature analysis, and we come up with a state-of-the-art ratio of approximately 70 to 30%. However, that might change in the future as the technology around AI is advancing in very big steps. The next question is, how much data do we need for medical AI? Generally speaking, the more data you have, the better your AI model is. And I have just put the statement of Microsoft researcher Banco on how they implemented a bad model with high amount of data to perform almost identical to a good AI. However, you don't need only large amount of data, you also have to provide data with a maximum possible bandwidth of different attributes in your data. In other words, you need a representative statistical distribution in your data sets. The amount of data you have to provide is again currently a state of the art. 10 times more data as attributes is currently what we have found in our literature analysis. Let me please clear this out. It is not cut in stone. So basically what we expect as a notified body is a sound justification for the number of data you have used and why you assume they are representing the targeted statistical distribution. Another important issue is the quality of data that is used for the training and for the verification and validation. Acquiring data is basically very cheap. Almost anything is collecting data nowadays. At the same time, the performance of AI is largely dependent on the quality of the data. Most of you are familiar with the axiom garbage in, garbage out, which means if you train your model with garbage data, you will receive a garbage model. And that's something you don't want in medical devices. Now let's have a look at supervised learning algorithm. So there you use labeled data, and labeling data by humans is very error prone and in many cases very subjective. Furthermore, we tend to make errors while performing repetitive tasks. So if you label 10,000 data sets, you might do mistakes or errors. You can overcome this by new labeling techniques, for instance, human in the AI loop, human in the loop AI or pool-based sampling. However, here again, the question is, can we ensure reliability and validation of the labeling process? And what we accept, again, here as a notified body, justification from your side, how you ensure repeatability, reliability of your labeling procedure. Poorly representative data will introduce bias into the model. That means the model is biased by statistical distribution of data that it was learned with. So the question for data should be, how can we first ensure that the data is unbiased? Second, correctly labeled. Third, objectively labeled. In other words, the manufacturer has to justify the quality of the data. And not only that, the data furthermore needs to be controlled at the same level the source code was controlled under conventional software. One other topic I would like also to mention is the stability of AI models. A recent study from May 2020, so pretty new one, aimed to investigate the stability of AI algorithm used for the reconstruction of MRT and CT images. The investigation showed that the 6 most common AI models used for the reconstruction of image were highly unstable. They could show that the tiniest corruption in the data that are invisible for human eye result in several artifacts that could lead to wrong diagnosis. Those distortions were not found in the conventional methods such as radon and Fourier transformation algorithms. What we should take from this investigation, so I don't want to go into detail too much, is that the issue with the stability of AI models are well known, but unfortunately in some cases they are not considered by the manufacturers. Another important issue with AI are security. So And the most common ones are the adversarial attacks on AI systems. A group of scientists, I think it was at the Technical University of Braunschweig, explore ways to secretly poison the data so that the AI predicts something wrong or bad. Unfortunately, with success again. The group could manipulate the data in such way that the defense systems designed to identify image scaling attacks fail to detect this issue. With this attack, it was then possible to make the algorithms to identify a cat as a dog. I think it was the TensorFlow's nearest scaling algorithm, but I have the sources at the end of presentation. You might have a look on that. The same, of course, can happen to a medical picture where a corrupted image can be used to misidentify healthy tissue. The second issue I would like to mention are attacks on AI using deep reinforcement techniques. These techniques were long considered to be more stable for cyber attacks. In 2017, a group around Huang found that by making the AI see something that is not there, you can change how the AI reacts. In simple words, you can basically trick the AI by behaving strange. Those attacks are more worrying than those on supervised models because reinforcement learning policies specify an AI's overall behavior. If a surgical robot misclassifies bone and soft tissue, it can rely on other sensors, for example. But sabotaging or hacking the surgical robot's policy could lead to an unpredictable disaster. Let me come last but not least to some impression on what our future patient or your future patient are thinking about AI and the big data in healthcare. And as we can see, they're obviously concerned. And we should take this concern seriously as they are your targeted customer and the one that use your medical device. And let me now give you a short summary. As we find out, medical field and AI has just started and we see a strong increase of applications. However, AI in most cases is implemented without any difference to conventional software and in some cases without any means of control. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to bring any examples as we are coupled to a non-disclosure agreement. But if a big company comes to you, a really big, huge company comes to you with a medical device to identify diseases and say, well, basically this is a black box AI, we cannot validate it, and for this reason the clinical evaluation report is almost empty. I mean, that shows a picture that doesn't fit into what we expect for a medical device manufacturer. Independent on the situation, the regulatory requirement found in MDR, ISO standard and other state-of-the-art requirement and common specifications must be fulfilled to show compliance to the general performance and safety requirements which are found in the medical device regulations. My assumption is that black box AI cannot be approved as a medical device. What we haven't looked at are those continuous learning AIs. So those who have a topological change, so a design change during their workflow. I guess those wouldn't be that easy to be approved as a medical device, as with each learning process, they would have a significant change which would need another assessment, which does not make much sense here. And with all other requirements, for instance, with cybersecurity, we need regulation on international level. First, to have an harmonized our market, and second, this is the most important thing, to have an easier access to the market by the manufacturers. Currently, we at TÜV SÜD, we are expecting the manufacturers to fulfill a list of minimum requirement, which is published by the EGNB site, which is, by the way, co-authored by us, and it includes a list of requirements to mitigate risks that we have identified during this presentation. On an international level, there are a lot of movement. The EU Commission is working on a regulation of AI. The FDA have just, well, not just last year, published questionnaire on AI medical device. The Chinese government already have a very short and general requirement document, which is unfortunately only in Chinese. And yeah, we are expecting regulations to be published within the next few years. That's from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any question, please let me know. Here you see also my email address and my phone number. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions.